Welcome to today's episode of Black Belt Startup with Ferris. Thank you for tuning in. What's new in the world of entrepreneurship? Have you ever received a piece of advice so outrageous, so completely out there that your first instinct is to laugh until you realize it might actually be genius? That was me, standing there trying to figure out how to get my first clients when a sales trainer, somewhat of a mentor, he looked at me dead in the eye and said, Ferris, if you want to succeed, talk to 1,000 people. And I'm thinking, 1,000 people? Listen, I barely wanted to talk to 5 people. And for those of you who follow our channel and know a bit about me, I started a business after a layoff and I had zero background in sales. So talking to people was not something that I was looking to do, but it's part of getting your business off the ground. And I wasn't any kind of social butterfly, fluttering from handshake to handshake or, trying to meet new people. I was just trying to get a business off the ground without looking desperate. But here's the thing. I was desperate and I had no marketing strategy. So, I no idea. I had no idea how to get people to trust me, how to buy from me, how to even talk to me and ask me about what I do. And this was long before you can just post some sort of flashy reel on Instagram and call it branding. What I didn't know at the time was that 65% of new clients comes from referrals. And that is according to the NYT New York Times. In other words, if I wasn't networking, I was shutting myself off nearly every deal opportunity or every uh, whether it's a deal, whether it's a qualified lead, whether there's someone who could send a lead my way in the future. So this sales trainer, this mentor, gave me a challenge, one that at the time felt as ridiculous as trying to fill a swimming pool with a teaspoon. He said, print 1,000 business cards and give them all away in 3 months. At first, it sounded like some kind of cruel joke, something ridiculous. But I did take on that challenge. And I started to hand off these business cards at coffee shops, at networking events, every place I meet people. And even when maybe at a social event, or maybe when someone would introduce me to someone else after did this after a religious service one time. So the idea is it was hard for me to do it. But when I started to do that, the first maybe 10 times it was very awkward. Then I came up with a few lines, and I have a video on pitching and picking the right pitch for the right time. But basically, you find you don't want to be obnoxious about it. You don't want to be like just walking around and handing off business cards and saying people, hey, here's what I do, buy from me. But no, you started a conversation. I'll show you examples on exactly how to do it and the mistakes to avoid. That's all part of today's episode. But the idea is, what sounds crazy, handing out business cards. This was in maybe the old days. But for now, meeting people and sharing maybe your LinkedIn profile or sharing your social media profile, that is how you start getting referrals. So when that happened, when I started to connect with people and let people know about what I do, calls from people I had never met, but who had heard about me from someone I had met. That was it. That was the change. It's sort of crazy. People I didn't know. I heard such and such said that you do website design. That's what we did way back then. And then it turns out that not only I'm getting calls and emails from people I had not met, I also learned that referrals versus cold calling, referrals have a 75%, sorry, higher conversion rate than cold prospecting or cold prospects. And if you add that 65% of new business comes from referrals, and then these established relationships or these referrals who in a way pass on their trust, people who trust them, and then when they trust you, that trust is passed on to you, that the closing rate, the conversion rate is much higher when you get leads that way. So opportunities began showing up that I had not chased because here's one thing: when you put yourself out there, you really put yourself out there. Sorry, I had a technical issue. No, we're good. When you put yourself out there, things start shifting in ways you never expected. So, one thing, it took me a while to learn and to realize that business isn't just about what you know or maybe what you offer. It's about who knows you. And if you're not talking to enough people, the truth is you are invisible. So that one wild piece of advice changed everything for me. So if you're stuck, if you are not meeting or finding leads or qualified leads, if you're waiting for clients to magically appear, waiting for people to recognize your value, let me save you some time. And that is on the power of networking, and then the mistakes that I wanted to avoid. So I'm going to go over that later today in this episode. And before we dive into it, a couple of housekeeping items. One is that if you're watching now or listening, or maybe you're tuning to this later, I would love to hear from you. Leave me a comment. Let me know about your challenges, your issues you're facing, maybe with your business partner, maybe with marketing, with sales, with hiring. Let me know about your small and big wins. I'd love to hear from you. And then I make it part of our routine here at Startup with Ferris is that I answer all the questions and comments I get, either on these podcasts, on these streams, or we answer them on social media, on LinkedIn, or wherever the comments come in. So do let me know. And you can, if it's something a bit more personal, email me. You can go to startupwithferris.com, and Ferris is spelled with Feras, like my first name, and let me email me there. I'll be more than happy to answer your question. And we have these episodes every Thursday at 3 p.m. PST and 6 p.m. EST. So make sure you follow us on whichever platform you are on: LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on X. We are there, so you don't miss the next episode. Now, due to some unexpected travel, I am recording this. So you're watching a portion of this recorded, but I am there live to answer comments. I'm not sure how my internet connectivity will be, so I'm recording this, but I will be there to answer questions that come in our way. All right, so now that the logistics are behind us, let's just jump back in. And for those of you who are joining us right now, I'm covering two main points today. One is how to identify key connections within your network, and once you do that, the mistakes I made that I wanted to avoid when networking. And again, if you just joined and you're thinking like why networking is really important, is key to business growth, because like most early stage business owners don't actually have a client problem. There are clients out there who are looking for you for what you offer, assuming you've done some business vetting. And if you're not sure if you have a business idea and you're not sure if it's going to be a solid business or not, check out our videos on the YouTube channel at Startup with Ferris on vetting your business idea. But the issue again is not a client problem. The issue is that you have a visibility problem. Your ideal clients, the avatar, the persona, the ICP, aren't hiding in some secret corner on the internet. They are already in your personal and professional circles. Think of past colleagues, former clients, industry peers, industry friends, and even casual acquaintances, people you see around. So the real issue is that they don't think of you when they need your service because they're not aware of what you offer. And most of us people, we do business with those we know, those we like, and those we trust. That's why cold outreach, it works, but the percentages are lower. It's harder work. It's more work. You have to have a whole lot of more interactions. So when people know you, and you're not a stranger to them, there's some trust there that you are counting on, that you're building on, and there's a bond in a way that you are leveraging. So, with strangers, that bond, that trust is not there. With people, people in your current relationships, that trust is already established. So instead of convincing people who don't know you that that you're great and you're credible and you have these amazing capabilities, you're staying in touch with those who already believe in your skills. So your network isn't just a list of names. It's think of it as an asset, just like hard skills, soft skills are assets. Your network is part of the resource pool that you tap into. And this network can open three things, at least. One, high quality referrals, as we said, warm leads from people who can vouch for your expertise. Two, strategic partnerships. When you're out there, you're not only finding leads, also a service partner, a partner who could be a service provider who complements what you do. Maybe someone who can introduce you to their network, maybe someone who can help you do the service faster. So you'll find potential leads, referrals, strategic partnerships, and then think of networking as really as a credibility boost, because trust is transferable. That's what I was mentioning earlier. If someone in your network recommends you, their trust in you spreads to their audience. So with that in mind, again, the two topics I want to cover today, one is how to identify key connections in your network, and then later we'll cover the mistakes that you want to avoid. So how do you tap into the right people in your existing circles? So your strongest connections are the people closest to you, right? Maybe closest friends, maybe family members, maybe someone that you've worked with, for a long time. But just expand beyond that. Think about past clients, maybe alumni networks, maybe mentors, industry, and I think we have a slide on that. Industry contacts, other local business owners whom you've dealt with, and even people you've casually met at. Now, you don't need them to be direct leads. I mean, people who would buy from you. Think of them as that if they need service, but also they are a source of referrals. They might introduce you to the person who will be a direct lead. So that's number one, is look beyond the obvious, still within your network. Second here is leverage your second degree connections. So your network's biggest strength isn't just in the people that you know, but also in the outer circle in whom they know as well. So your ex-colleague might be connected to a business owner who exactly needs what you offer. A friend from college might work for a company that could use your services. So the key is that learning how to position yourself so that they think of you when they need the service, or they know someone in their network is looking for someone that they're looking for a service provider for a service that you offer. And the third piece here is that as I said earlier, trust is really important. So use your trust to your advantage. If you have, I always tell founders, anyone whom you've left a positive impression on is going to be an asset for you, because they trust you. They know you work hard, you're credible, you're trustworthy, you're reliable, your craft. These are all things. If people think about you that way, they will happily, in most cases, be very comfortable passing your name to someone else. But if they have issues, if they don't trust you, they don't think you're credible, obviously it's going to be much more difficult. And for some of us, maybe who had issues in the past, and maybe we were not very reliable, we did not have a strong network to lean in on, it's never too late. This is not, I'm not going into mindsets and personal, behavioral changes and all that. That's a different topic for a different time. But think about people whom you've left a positive impression on, and maybe someone you went to school, the same school with, maybe worked in the same company. Maybe you shared a mutual experience in a hobby at a nonprofit event. All of that is, it sort of establishes an automatic level of trust, and people want to help those with whom they share some common ground. So with that in mind, there's one more, and then we move on to the mistakes, and is that when you're going through your network and you're going through your LinkedIn um, connections, and through maybe your people on your phone, or people, again, kind of sit down and get a spreadsheet and write down just all the experiences you've had in the past. You might want to re-engage those, I would call dormant connections, and those, again, some of the maybe most valuable people in your network, because you left a very positive impression on, and you haven't spoken with maybe with in years. So those are people you can tap into. Now, I will show you how to do this the right way and avoid the wrong way in a second. But instead of, again, feeling awkward about reaching out, you want to see this as an opportunity to rebuild the connection naturally with these, what I call dormant connections. And when you're doing this outreach and this work, everything I've described so far, it's going to require some work on your part. Um, you have to go and, again, develop a spreadsheet, and you can use our DIY CRM, or and you can download it. It's available. If you go to our YouTube channel on their live, you'll see a DIY live stream that we did a while ago, and there in the description there's a link to the DIY CRM, and we can add a link to it in the description for this episode as well. But start listing names of people you go back through every interaction, every experience, every work, every hobby, and add names of people. You'll be surprised of the names that you'll come up with, right? And then you can start using a communication channel, maybe that works for someone like LinkedIn, but maybe someone else that you know very well, you can text someone. Maybe you pick up the phone and call, or someone you email. So depending on what that they're comfortable with. But you don't have to. Not you don't have to. You don't. I don't want you to email and call and text and do all of that sort of within in the same hour, especially with someone that you haven't talked with in a long time. So reach out to someone, and then give them a few days, and then maybe reach out again. Hey, in case you did not get my message. People could be traveling, could be sick, could be really busy. So find a channel, find the right channel in your mind, the right way to connect with these people. Now, the second topic I want to cover is on mistakes to avoid when networking with your existing connections. So sometimes when we talk about networking, you're going to meet some new people. So there are some etiquettes on that, and we'll talk about it in a different episode. But for now, how to do this right, how to connect with people that in your existing network, and the mistakes to avoid. So the biggest mistakes are as follows. And these mistakes could be serious. They could sabotage the long-term relationship. So be careful there. So the number one is what I would call I haven't talked to you in 10 years, but here's my offer. I mean, this approach is a big mistake. Nobody likes that old high school friend who suddenly pops up trying to sell them on some sort of MLM, right? So if you're reaching out only when you need something, and I could be guilty of this at times, we're doing it wrong. So a bad approach would be something like this. Hey, we haven't talked in a while, but I just launched my coaching business. Would love to set up a call. Okay. You can tweak this just a little bit. Hey, it's been a while, and then mention their name. I saw your post about mention something that you've read recently that they posted and you liked, and maybe it rekindled some memory, and say, I would love to catch up with you and hear about what you've been up to, and also would love to share with you what I've been doing lately, right? So it's a relationship. It's a two-way street. It's not just you picking up the phone to tell them how great of a service provider you are. You want to reestablish that connection, and you want to learn about them and be interested and invested in them. So maybe you can also help them. You can also maybe help them connect with someone in your network, right? So that would be the approach. So the first one, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. Would love to set up a call. That sounds comes across very transactional. The second one, a bit more elaborate and then a bit more personal. It sounds and feels natural. So that's the number one mistake. The second mistake is what I would call generic copy paste outreach. I mean, people can tell when you're just getting, they're getting a mass message from you. If your outreach looks like, hey, and you drop a name, or maybe sometimes you don't drop a name. Hey, hope you're doing well. Just wanted to check and see if you or anyone you know needs a service. I mean, you'll be getting ignored. People won't be responding to you. They'll ghost you. But instead, you can hyper personalize this approach. So, hey, drop the name for sure. I remember, you can say something like this. Again, depending on your interaction, this requires a bit more time. It's easy to send quick generic emails. If you want to personalize the email, it's going to take a bit more time from you, but that investment will pay off manyfold, because personalized outreach is much more effective than broad and generic outreach. So you can say something like, hey, I remember you mentioning that you were struggling with such and such, whatever you heard them saying or writing or telling someone else. And maybe that was last year. And then you can say, I recently helped a similar business, or maybe a friend that they also know, solve the same exact issue. And then I thought of you. I'd love to chat and tell you how I helped this other person. So when you are specific, I would say specificity equals higher response rates. So keep that in mind. So that was the second mistake. The third mistake is respect the no. So when someone says no, respect the no without being awkward. Nothing kills a relationship faster than taking rejection personally. I know it hurts when people say no in whichever relationship, but your reaction, you don't control what people do and say, but you control your reaction, and you can learn, as I have, I think, learn how to react properly. So the wrong reaction would be you get defensive, you push harder. No, you gotta talk to me. No, I'm going to help you save money. I'm going to help you do this or that, or maybe cutting ties. Like, that's just the wrong reaction. The right reaction would be saying something like, no worries at all. If you ever need this service, whatever the service you offer, I'd love to help. And if you come across anyone who could be a great fit, let me know. I mean, that's the end of it, right? And then again, especially if they are a business owner and they're also looking for leads, and hey, if I hear of someone needing your service, I'll be more than happy. I'll send them your way as well. So you reciprocate, and that is really important in this type of environment where you are networking and when you are looking for referrals. All right. So instead of, again, saying no and getting upset about it and showing your anger in writing or verbally, you're now leaving the door open for maybe future reconnection. And the fourth mistake is it's not not exiting gracefully from dead end conversations. I mean, sometimes a lead isn't interested. They're just not interested. That doesn't mean you should disappear. Instead, you can stay. You can still add value, stay valuable in their world without being obnoxious or annoying. So let's say a career coach. This is an example that I'm familiar with. A career coach pitched a company, but they turned him down. Instead of you, again, getting defensive, taking it personal, and not doing any follow-up. So instead of ghosting them, why don't you start engaging with them on their LinkedIn posts, maybe comment, again, without being obnoxious about it. Do it in style, maybe twice a week if they're actively posting. Maybe share in a follow-up email a month, after that when they said no, like, hey, I came across this very relevant industry article, maybe a blog post that you wrote, because you know their industry really well, or maybe you can check with them. Yeah, you're going to a conference and you're checking if they're attending that conference, or maybe you know that they frequent a specific place, maybe like a local meetup, or like maybe they go to the Chamber of Commerce, the monthly event, whatever the case might be. You're there, and see if you can find ways to add value. Show them that without being pushy, just add value. Share an article, share an insight, share a success story, share what their competitors are doing, and maybe something wrong they're doing, you think, like on their website. Help them, show your value, show that you're already helping them out by engaging with you in these conversations. So those are the 4 mistakes that I want you to avoid. Basically, today we talked about why networking is key to help you grow your business, and then we talked about the mistakes to avoid. So in terms of things you can do today, especially if you are a new business owner and you're struggling to get leads, you're struggling to grow the business, don't look too far. There are times where you need to do cold calling and run ads and do all sort of things. But I think most, from my experience, speaking with and helping more than 150 entrepreneurs over the last several years, most people, me included, we underutilize our network. We invest in the network that we have, and it's right there in front of us. So make outreach and rebuilding these connections, these relationships, make it part of your daily life and part of your daily and weekly routines. And then as you're doing that, avoid the mistakes that I just mentioned. That is it for today. Before we wrap up, a couple of things. If you're liking this content, hit the like button, share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on LinkedIn or wherever you are watching or listening to this episode. And then also for those of you who join us on these podcasts, we have a special promotion for our Black Belt Startup products. We have a training and coaching program. It's a complete curriculum from vetting the idea to business planning to sales and marketing, all the way to hiring and growing the business. 60 plus modules available to you, and we have also, and in that we have two options. One, you can just get the curriculum, and the other option is for you to get the curriculum plus weekly office hours, where you can come to me with your questions, with your issues, and I help you resolve them. And this program is built with you in mind, those who want to start a business or those who started and struggle. They're just struggling in sales and marketing and growing. And for those of you, again, listening, watching, we have 20% off on all things Black Belt Startup. So we have the entrepreneurship foundations, and then we have the coaching program I mentioned earlier, and we also just released a pricing course. Everything you need to know about pricing, how to potentially double your revenue. So check those out. And we have a code. We have a promotion code for 20% off at BBSU20, BBSU, Black Belt Startup 20, BBSU20. That is it for this episode. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next time.